So it's more information coming out about David murdering his young 13, 14-year-old girlfriend.
Call the popo, huh?
Weirdo.
Okay. So now the medical examiner says she was killed by 2 penetrating wounds, meaning she got stabbed. That's the way she passed away was not from no drug overdose. No, she got stabbed. She got hurt. Somebody harmed her and killed her. And apparently, David cut her fingers off and kept her fingers.
Weirdo.
Medical examiner has actually now released the results of the Celeste autopsy
Shout out Trap Lord
officially,
Ross, man.
and apparently she was killed by 2 penetrating wounds. So we'd seen previous articles and reporting that essentially she had been killed by a sharp instrument, as it says over here. DA says that David murdered Celeste with a sharp instrument. We were wondering whether this was a stabbing, whether this was this penknife or the flick knife, one of these bad boys that he apparently was showing off on Twitch and other places in the lead up to the murder. But now it's official. They're saying she was killed by 2 penetrating wounds, and we've actually got some information from the autopsy here. So TMZ, as always, seem to be reporting this first. It says Celeste Regis's cause of death has been revealed, and the medical examiner in LA says she was killed by multiple penetrating injuries with unspecified objects. We don't know exactly what objects, but she was
penetrated with
a
stabbed or something,
sharp instrument. I'm not going to make the joke that you're probably thinking, but there were a lot of really bad things going on with her and David before she passed away, and that's why the death has been ruled a homicide. So it says the medical examiner says there's 2 penetrating wounds of the torso with smooth edges that may represent sharp force injuries. The wound, 3/4 of an inch length and 1.5 inches deep on the upper abdomen, penetrates the liver, and the wound on the left chest, 9/16 of an inch in length and 2 inches deep, penetrates one of the left intercostal spaces with disruption of the adjacent ribs and cortical surfaces. So this is the official autopsy results. It says decedent Rivas Hernandez Celeste Abigar. And as I just explained to you, these are the wounds. So these are
that's what
where she was stabbed with a blunt instrument. It looks like a knife. This looks like a knife to me.
Yeah. What else would it be though?
Could easily be one of these sort of knives that David was seen with. Honestly, makes perfect sense to me.
So now my question would be, okay, if now that we know he killed this little girl, which I mean, me personally, I've been new. This ain't no new news to me. I figured that out first 5 minutes after I heard about what happened. That's just me, because I got a professional nigga ear that's fully uprated and leveled up. Do your homework. So it sounds like my only question is 2 things happened. Number 1, he was planning on the murder. He wanted to kill her for whatever reason because he a sick weirdo and he really thought he was in the anime, which I think was very likely. Or number 2, he always wanted to know what it felt like. He seemed like one of them weirdos who like always wanted to know what it felt like to kill somebody. You feel me? He seemed like one of those dorky, loser, weirdo, lame, everything about him. The tattoos, the weird, all that weird shit about him, the painted nails, all that shit was weird, bro. You feel me? So something about him like that, or they got into an argument and he just killed her and did all the other shit. But I don't think so. I think he killed her. He planned on killing her, and he wanted to kill her or kill somebody for a very long time. And he was around her all the time, and he just did it. And he wanted to see what it was like to cut up her body. He was in love with gore. He said it turned him on. Like
basically, this is just breaking that down. Explaining that there was injuries, multiple defects over here on the lower right, sort of the upper right back. There's multiple linear abrasions on the hands.
So she was fighting back.
There was slices to the hands.
She was trying to
the fingers. They pointed out that's where the shush tattoo was on her finger.
Damn.
The skull, it says partially skeletonized.
What that mean?
Say globe not present. Can't quite see what that says, but it says something with the eye. I think it says lips
I can't really
intact.
see what it says for real.
Don't see what that says. Something present. Says there's a defect here.
Defect somewhere.
6 inch at the top of the shoulder. So yeah, as you can see, it
what was on her ankle?
Some kind of abrasion. I believe this is actually where the severs were made. These lines.
Yeah.
So it appears that the arms and legs were cut here.
A sick motherfucker.
At these points. So one leg cut a little bit shorter than the
other.
Do
you know how sick you gotta be to sit there to kill a human being and cut up the legs? Like, think about how many muscles and tissue and how much blood, the bones. Think about what you have to go through to cut up a human being's leg after you killed this girl. And you sitting here with her unalived body in front of your face and you going back and forth, blood splattering everywhere, all type of shit going on. And you going back and forth until her leg is all the way off, and then doing it again, and then doing it to her arms. It's that time of the year again, tax time, which is always stressful. Maybe you owe back taxes, or you have unfiled returns. Or maybe you pulled money from your 401k and you got an unexpected bill. No matter the reason, the outcome is always the same. Penalties grow. You could owe money to the IRS, not even know it, and have no plan on how you're gonna pay them back. Let me tell you something right now. The IRS is not waiting. They can take your money through wage garnishments, means they can just take money straight out your paycheck. They can seize your properties, and they can file without your consent. But with over 15 years in business, Tax Network USA has seen it all. And they've resolved over $1 billion in debt. Yes, I said 1 billion, my guy. No matter how big or small, they help taxpayers get back on track. And they can do the same for you, but you have to call now. They're offering a free investigation call with the IRS, and after you get off that call, they'll put a clear plan in place for you. Do not wait for another IRS letter. Call 866-418-6263 or visit tnusa.com/Mula or just click the link below. Taxes is a so you better stay on top of it. Like, what the
I'm not gonna lie, these are areas with like strong bones. So
that's what I'm saying.
It seems like some kind of industrial tools would have been needed to make these sort of
that
severances.
nigga is
That's
sick,
my opinion.
bro.
I don't know. I'm no mortician, but it's interesting. So there's also some other things. It says it's interesting. The medical examiner uses the word may, which is the defense, something they might jump on. The medical examiner also says her left ring and pinky fingers were amputated, but the body diagram shows her right pointer finger with the shush tattoo was intact. This will also be an interesting issue at trial because the autopsy report says there is a presumptive positive for methamphetamine and MDMA, but there was another screening that says methamphetamine was not inclusive and MDMA was not detective. So the report says Celeste may have had alcohol in her system, but it did not contribute to her death. So the stab wounds were obviously the reasons, and it was a homicide. Doesn't matter if she was dosed up with some...
Exactly. It doesn't matter what drug she was on. She obviously got killed if she had stab wounds. Somebody killed her. So either this nigga did. Does this look like a sane person to you? This motherfucker look at his eyes, bro. Come on. I've been around for a long time.
It's crazy. It says the body was badly decomposed. The head was partially skeletonized with an absent left eye. That's really dark.
Insane.
And I wonder
where'd her eye go?
Literally cut that, bruh. I don't know.
What the fuck?
Weirdo.
What's going on with that? The remains were found in a black body bag and a black trash bag containing David's Tesla. Okay, and TMZ did kind of a long breakdown of what was going on. So let's have a little glance at this before I bring you some more reactions.
We just received the autopsy report from the medical examiner in Celeste Rivas's death, for which David is now charged with her murder. And there are some interesting things, and we talked about this before, that we knew that the coroner had ruled this, the medical examiner ruled this a homicide, but we didn't know the cause of death. And the DA said they were stabbed, there was some kind of sharp instrument was used. Now we know, and what they're saying is there were 2 wounds in particular, and that they believe, and they use the word may, and the word may is going to be really important, which we'll talk about, that they may be penetrating wounds, which would not be wounds to dismember a body.
Right, yeah, because of where they are, they believe, is I think the main, and also,
and the way they describe it is they describe 2 penetrating wounds, one on the abdomen and one on the chest, and they describe them as, they tell you the depth and the length of these, and they say they have smooth edges. Indication seems to me that some sort of knife was plunged into her, and it left smooth edges. The key
is the length of the wounds. One is 3/4 of an inch, one is 9/16. So this size wound as the penetrative wound. These are
which
not,
is an indication of the length of the blade.
And also a blade that could not dismember a body, right? This would not be the same instrument used to dismember the body.
Now, the body was dismembered. They describe all that in detail, but those types of cuts to take the body apart would be different than
does the report say anything about the dismemberment or what they believe was used?
They don't say what was used.
No, it does describe it in a lot of detail.
But it's gruesome. There's a word that's used, may, that it may have been caused by this. The defense is going to jump on that.
Oh, they'll definitely.
Because they're not saying it's conclusive, and it aligns with what we've been hearing, which is they were having a really hard time determining how she died.
As look at the passage of time.
As recently as February.
Yeah.
The passage of time to determine this is a long, it's many, many months.
There's also, and it's conflicting, and we still can't quite figure it out, but there are references to finding presumptive positive indications that she had both meth and MDMA in her system.
Although additional screenings showed that to be
MDMA, that's is that Molly or is that ecstasy? I thought that was kind of the same thing though.
Initial screen said presumptive.
It seems like there were 2 tests taken, 2 tox screens. The initial one detected MDMA and methamphetamine. Subsequently, they did a confirmation test, and it was unclear whether there was MDMA, but methamphetamine, but no sign of MDMA at that second confirmation test.
I mean, ultimately, is that going to matter when you get the trial, whether or not she was
probably
on any
not.
drugs?
Well, they may argue it was an overdose. I don't know what they're going to argue, but they'll
the overdose. So I stabbed her twice and cut her body up.
What
the fuck are we talking about?
Look,
you know what I'm saying,
the
though?
O.J. Simpson case. The coroner was on the stand for 8 days in that case. So this is going to be the centerpiece of the case, because what the DA is saying is we have evidence she threatened David that she would expose their relationship, probably in a text. That's the way they make it seem, and that she goes to David's house on April 23rd, 2025, never to be seen again.
Right.
So now the question: what happened? So the prosecutor is going to say he stabbed her to death, and here are these 2 wounds, and then you're going to have the defense coming out and saying, look, number 1, you didn't say conclusively, you're saying may, and this is a reasonable doubt case. Number 2, if it was so clear to you, why 4 months in were you still saying undetermined? So this is going to be a huge part of this case.
And also, I would think, maybe they'll say this, that it would get harder to find those wounds the more time passes. They found her body in September, and I'm sure it's refrigerated, but the state of decomposition, I would think it gets harder by March. Now suddenly, what changed?
They're going to freeze it once they find the body. They can freeze it in the state.
But why couldn't that was what they found months later? Those penetrative wounds must have been known to the coroner right from the start.
But then why did they say we may never be able to determine whether
the body was in a very bad state? The insects and so forth are described in there, liquefaction of organs and things of that nature. But the body that you can see in their diagram shows these 2 penetrating wounds, and those are inconsistent with dismemberment.
Well, there'll be pictures. There will be photographs.
There's going to be photographs of everything.
There will be photographs of all of this in the trial. But again, the defense is going to get every correspondence, every inter-office correspondence in the ME's office, and correspondence that goes to either LAPD or DA about what have you found with the cause of death, the manner of death. And if these correspondents say we can't figure it out, then the question is, how'd you figure it out? And why would it take you so long to see a penetrating wound?
We want to see if there's a pressure being applied by other officials to come to a conclusion or things of that nature. That's going to be tough on prosecutors if they're applying pressure.
And we know from right from the beginning, Nathan Hochman, the DA, was putting a lot of pressure to find an answer what happened to this girl.
For good reason.
And for good reasons, but that might go to the pressure.
But we don't know. Again, we don't know, and we're not saying anything about what the truth here is. It's just this is going to be the core of this trial. This will be the core of the trial. Well, what we just got, and it's a very thick document and very detailed. And clearly, the way it's written, I mean, you can tell this coroner knows that this will be subjected to great scrutiny.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what. Again, I keep going back to that word "may" because that's a critical,
the lack of a definitive
critical word.
Yeah.
Lily, NYC. I think that this actually sort of clears things up a bit. It was very confusing, the details around the state of her body. And so actually pointing out wounds sort of gives us something to go on. So definitely the defense will have a lot to say, but I think this is a step in the right direction. Yeah,
I mean, to be continued. There's a hearing tomorrow on exactly when this preliminary hearing is going to go down.
So look, there you have it. Okay, there you have it. It is for real, right? TMZ have done the full analysis on it. Now, I'll give you some reaction over on Reddit, okay, because people are posting this. This is going crazy on Reddit. Everyone's been waiting for this. People are saying, so he essentially stabbed her to death. I hope he rots in prison. Awful. Poor Celeste. R.I.P. People are saying, are the lines on the legs cuts? Or is that where the dismembering...
I don't want to read comments. I ain't going to lie to you. I don't give a fuck what these niggas talking about in the comments.
Was that is...
What this is? Medical examiner press release. David took Celeste David finger as a trophy. Here he shows a cut finger on tour. What the hell?
Warning for you. This post is going around on Reddit, and they're saying that David actually took Celeste's finger with the David tattoo on it on tour as a trophy. And here he shows a cut finger on tour, and it links to a TikTok.
What the?
I haven't watched this TikTok yet. I'm actually scared to even watch this, but let's see.
Tour vlog.
Fucking hell. Is it? Please tell me this isn't what I think it is.
Wrapping up the one and only original Sukuna's finger from Jujutsu Kaisen. And, yeah, we about to drink some tea, do some vocal warm-ups.
So he has a finger. He talking about it's an original finger from some shit, and he's wrapping the finger up right before her body got found. And it just so happens that a few of her fingers end up missing after they found her body. Too many coincidences, gang. This nigga's a weirdo.
It can't be. It can't be.
I think it can be.
I'm speechless. Could this really be it? So this was on August 2025, the 19th of August.
Right.
Her body got found in
September.
Wrapping up the one and only original Sukuna's finger from Jujutsu Kaisen. And yeah, we about to drink some tea, do some vocal warm-ups. Some vocal warm-ups.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we about to drink some tea, do some vocal warm-ups.
Why is he wrapping a finger? What else makes sense?
Bruv. Says, yes, it's a prop. He showed clues all this time. It's not fan fiction, y'all. The whole premise of this finger is a dead person's finger. That character ate to get powers or something. Says, when I posted this a few months back, I was told it was nothing. They're saying this is the finger he took. What is he doing with a cut finger prop? So I searched with Google Lens, and it seems like the one he's holding is a prop of Sukuna's finger from the anime series Jujutsu Kaisen, but if the autopsy is showing that two fingers are absent, it means he likely cut them off, especially because one of them had the David tattoo. So he might have gone around with that object to remind himself of that. What the actual fuck, this man...
Bro, this nigga is a sick ass... He one of them sick weirdos. But you can kind of look at him and tell. Like, none of this is... When I see this type of nigga, bro, the bracelets and the bonnet and the nail polish and... he looks like a fucking weirdo. He looked like one of them weird ass. This is like the black version of Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, y'all seen that shit? Like, Jeffrey Dahmer used to kill animals and cut them up and all that weird. Like, he just
one of them had the David tattoo. So he might have gone around with that object to remind himself of that. What the actual fuck, this man, sick monster, took her finger as a trophy. Let me look this up. Because if this is a thing that you can buy a Sukuna's finger prop. So it looks like this is a thing. Okay. Right? You can buy a Sukuna's finger prop.
Yeah, but it's still weird the fact that the person who he's supposed to have killed got two fingers cut off. It just shows you like it's something wrong with the nigga. Like he thought these niggas be weird as hell.
They sell them. That does look like what David had.
Yeah, that does.
I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt and say that he's not posing with a real finger in this video. It looks like the fake finger that was bought. But I do think that this is symbolism for what he really had going on.
Yeah, I do too.
I think the possibility that that's a real finger is low. But
what if he's wrapping it up with something that belonged to the girl, to Celeste? What if this belonged to her? Or this was her lanyard or some shit. He's wrapping it up with that.
It seemed like he kept a couple of fingers. So I'm going to say, let's not blur that. For context, I don't think that this is a real finger.
But I do think it's
proven wrong. There's some backstory about this. I don't follow this anime. Okay, yeah, this is Jujutsu.
Only anime I know or like is, well, I used to like Dragon Ball Z, but I don't really know nothing about it. Naruto, I like Naruto. Any other than like a lot of them
Kaizen
be a little crazy.
Fan page basically says, does Sukuna's fingers only contain his soul and cursed energy, or do they also hold his powers too? It says, we know Sukuna was splitted into fingers in 20 numbers. My question is, Sukuna's fingers only contain his soul, and CE is also a distribution of his power into 20 fingers. Does the power mean like his ability, speed, strength, technical powers? This is just dark. It definitely holds his power like output and stats. It made pretty clear throughout the story with the number of fingers he also gets. This is just fucked. This is just fucked. I just can't believe it. So there's just more reaction on Reddit. Correct me if I'm wrong. The medical examiner says 2 penetrating wounds of the torso with smooth edges representing sharp force injuries. I know this might not be the knife, but it's worth discussing. OD my ass. The OD narrative is totally out of the picture. My mind went right to his knife. Smooth edges would indicate a knife, but the cuts were clean, not ragged or inconsistent. Okay. People are trying to get to the bottom of the report. It's been posted absolutely everywhere. Yeah. Ugh. I don't even know where to...
A sick ass human being, boy. I hope he get everything coming to him because I think he did it. I don't give a fuck with nobody. You can't convince me no other way. He did that shit.